Hey guys, how's it going? I hope you're all doing really well. Today we're doing another Me and My Guitars video, a little series I've been doing where I've been going through each of my guitars, talking a little bit about them. As a lot of you know, this is the newest guitar that I've got in my collection. So yeah, we're going to do this one today. I did an unboxing video a little while ago, and I said that I was going to do a video pretty much shortly after unboxing it on playing it for you and stuff like that. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to live with it for a little while and play it and use it, maybe get a couple of covers out of it as well, which I have done. Before I sat down and told you what I thought of it, I thought it'd be more fair if I actually put it into use. Let you guys see it in action on the channel. There's a couple of covers that I've done. It just made it onto Lords of Summer, Metallica. I got a couple of Axe Wound ones out as well, because that's all the drop A stuff, which is really cool. So yeah, so I wanted to live with it for a little while before giving my my opinion on it. So what is this? It's a Jackosn RRX24 MG7. So that's not really a pretty name right there, like, you know, an ESP snakebite or whatever, but yeah, that's what it's called. The thing goes for around £819 here in the UK, and I bought it from Peach Guitars, which was one of the only places I could get it immediately from when I actually decided to buy the thing. They're based all the way over on the east side of the UK, I think. And yeah, I put the order through and it came smack bang the next day. Service was absolutely incredible. So if you're looking for a guitar supplier or pedals or amps or anything like that musically, Peach Guitars, I've had nothing but good customer service off of them. They've got a wide variety of guitars in their inventory as well, which like you can't find in other places. Like I think there was a couple of snake bites on there and stuff like that. So if you're looking for spiky looking guitars and quite, I don't know, there was a lot of like heavy metal guitars on there. So if you're looking for something in that sort of realm, Peach Guitars, I can only recommend them after the experience I've had with them. So I guess the first thing to talk about really is this is a 7-string, and I've never had a 7-string before in my life. I've never played a 7-string. I've never had need for a 7-string, I guess. But a project came up where I needed a guitar for drop A tuning, and that was it. Now, for a little while, what I was doing, especially for some of the covers I was doing with drop A, Psychosocial, Slipknot, a couple of the old Axe Wound ones that I was doing, my old covers going back where my editing quite wasn't what it was, and I was there studying my sunglasses, and oh god, I look back and cringe. I like to think my videos have got a little bit better. But yeah, I'd use the guitars that I have for drop A tuning or anything that low, or like the Wage War stuff like Disdain, where you're tuning down to like maybe a G sharp or something like that. So yeah, I'd use them. And for instance, the Lee Malia guitar, which I've done a Me and My Guitars on, that was kind of my go-to drop tune guitar. And I bought that specifically for drop tuning. And you know, you buy it. I was a big Bring Me the Horizon fan, and I bought it, and I thought, well, I'll just keep that down in drop L tuning for when I'd need it, you know. And I didn't really know much about scale lengths and stuff like that, and how things work with tuning stability. And the more I've come forward, and the more I've learned, that guitar is not cut out for tuning that low. It'll do it, and you can stick heavy strings on it and stuff like that, but it just doesn't hold, and it just doesn't sound. It sounds okay. It sounds brilliant. It'll tear your face off, but it just doesn't hold the tuning well because it's quite short, the scale length. This thing is a 26.5 scale length, I believe. Plus the headstock is inverted, which is really good for that low 7th string. I was going to say 6th string then. The low 7th string, because that is shooting all the way off to the end there at the longest point. The stability on this thing is absolutely nuts. It's really good, but we'll talk a little bit about that later. So yeah, so I made the decision that, you know, I don't want to tune any of my other guitars down. I use the BC Rich far too much for Bullet for my Valentine covers, which is like drop C tuning, D standard, the occasional drop B. Snakebite, that's off limits. That's Metallica, right? Standard tuning, half step. de-standard at a push. And I did not want to put the my other Jackson Rhodes down there either, because I use that far too much for like the bullety stuff, which is like a drop C, or even the standard stuff for the Metallica. Plus, then this project that I'm involved with happened, which you'll find a little bit more about as time goes on. And that was like, well, it's drop A tuning, so that's it. So I was thinking, oh God, I'm going to have to just go back to putting the Lee Malia guitar in drop A. And it just didn't feel right. It just wasn't working for me. Just to cut you guys in, Lee Malia, whose signature guitar that is, he uses an 80 gauge on the bottom, and he uses that for C standard. I know that sometimes they go lower, but an 80 gauge string, that is a bass string, right? And he had to route out or get his tech or whoever it was, or Epiphone or whatever, he had to get them to route out the bridge so the 80 gauge could go through, and obviously route out at the top here through the machine head to get the damn string through the machine head. So I certainly didn't want to go down that route. So I started thinking about, well, why not get a 7-string guitar? Yeah. And there's a couple of reasons for that. The first and foremost being, obviously, I needed the drop A guitar. But I needed it to be usable for what I do with you guys on my channel, and when I'm just playing myself, and not just, you know, it just sits on the shelf doing nothing when I'm not playing in drop A. This is really cool because what I've got myself here is a drop A guitar, but underneath that A, that 7th string there, I've got a standard tune guitar, right? So you've got A, E, A, D, G, B, E all the way down, which is brilliant because that means now I've got a guitar for the drop A stuff, and I've got a standard tune guitar that's got a Floyd Rose on it and 24 frets. The amount of Metallica stuff that I couldn't do because I needed a bar, you know what Kirk's like, right? Especially coming forward when he's absolutely like ripping on the thing. Between that and his wah pedal, there was just stuff that I just couldn't do because I didn't have the 24 frets. Even on Cyanide, I actually got round that by pre-bending the string. There was a 24th fret note in the solo, and I had to catch that on the recording by pre-bending the string and hitting the pre-bend. So having 24 frets has been absolutely brilliant for me as well, because it's just opened up the amount of covers and stuff that I can do, or even potentially lessons, who knows. The other thing that I mentioned is the Floyd Rose. While I was going down this this rabbit hole of going for all things that were different, with the 7 strings and the 24 frets, I thought to myself, well, why don't you get a Floyd Rose as well? Because again, there's certain covers that I can't do for want of a Floyd Rose. For instance, what's the one off of Hardwired? The demo was called Riff Charge or Riff Load or something. Here Comes Revenge. Yeah, that intro, like Kirk's like hitting the harmonics and stuff like that, I believe, or he's hitting whatever he's hitting, and he's going absolutely nuts on the bar. Stuff like that just wasn't doable. And that's a song that I'd really like to cover at some point. And I want to do it as accurately and as, you know, as close to the actual track as possible. So I don't want to just be shaking the hell out of strings. You know, I want to give you guys the show that you subscribe for, and, you know, actually have what's actually going on the track going on my recording of it. So when I was looking at guitars, this is going back to like, oh God, February or something like that. When I was going back looking at them, you know, a lot of 7 strings, they're super strats, right? And I just don't like super strats. I like big fat guitars, right? Big spiky things, or weapons, you know? And this thing popped up, and I was like, oh, that's funny. It's a Rhodes with a 7 string. I hadn't really seen that before. But then I looked at it, and I realized it looked so similar to another guitar that a lot of you Bullet fans have probably clocked. Matt Tuck's Jackson. I have the white version. That's unfortunately sat upstairs in a case right now because I've got not enough wall room at the minute, and I'm constantly using this. But rest assured, it will come back onto the channel. Matt had a black version of that, which had beveling, inverted headstock, and it was in black. And when I saw this, I just thought that looks just like, or very similar to, Matt's signature Jackson. And you know me, I'm a massive Bolt My Valentine fanboy, right? I'm a Matt Tuck fan. And I would have always liked one of the black ones, I guess. I love the white one. That's the one I went for. I was dead certain of that. But the black ones look really cool as well. So I kept seeing this, and I kept looking at it every now and then and sort of like playing with the idea, but there were just certain things that I was not sold on. But aesthetically, I was looking at it and I was just like, that just looks like Matt Jackson. It's so cool. So it's a shape that I'm comfortable with. It's a shape that I really like. I enjoy it. I think they look sharp. I think they look vicious. So all these little factors were starting to creep in. Then what you do is you go on the website, don't you? And then you find out that it wasn't even released yet. So I was going to have to wait for it. I think it was released in April. But along the way, there were so many things that I was umming and ahhing about with this. And I'll go into those now. So I wasn't really sure about the Laurel fingerboard. And that is purely, I don't know, an aesthetic thing. I like black, dark brown, black, dark, whatever, dark brown, whatever it is. Ebony, yeah? A lot of my guitars have that on them. And I just like the look of it. It looks clean, it looks sleek, it looks dark. I really like it. So I wasn't really sold on the look of that. But again, I was willing to sort of like take the chance just to see if I liked it. But this guitar was a huge risk. And another reason why it was a risk was there were no reviews. No videos, nothing online. Usually what you do is you go online, you look at reviews, you go on the website, sometimes they'll have like a promo video on it. And a lot of the time on YouTube, you can find really honest reviews and stuff on the guitar. There was absolutely nothing. It was just me just staring at this guitar, and it was a big, fat question mark, right? A couple of other things. Floyd Rose, right? I've had a Floyd Rose before on a PRS that I sold, and that was a Floyd Rose original. That was the real deal. This is a Floyd Rose special. What came with that was going down the rabbit hole of looking at loads and loads and loads and loads of reviews. And if you type in Floyd Rose special into YouTube, you'll get smacked in the face with about 3 videos that says, don't buy a Floyd Rose special or something like that. So I'm thinking, oh God, right, well that's not going to work then. But then as I carried on looking into it, the Floyd Rose special, it's one of these things where, from what I've gathered anyway, some people have had a really bad experience with it and they absolutely hate it because of what it's made out of. It's not the stainless steel. It's made of like zinc and stuff like that. Some people had a really bad experience, but other people on the forums and stuff have said, I love mine. I've had it for like 25 years or whatever, 10 years, and never had a problem with it. Holds tune, I can dive all I like, and it's absolutely fine and gig worthy. So you're kind of in this sort of limbo of what do you believe. The only thing you can do is take the chance. One other thing that I wasn't sure of, the body is made of poplar, right? I've never ever played a poplar guitar in my life. My guitars are your traditional, a lot of them are like the mahogany body, that sort of thing that we know and I've sort of swore by for years and are the go-to for a lot of people. I expected this thing to be super light, and I was so wrong. It weighs an absolute ton. The other thing about the Floyd Rose as well is what I learned last time having one is that it's constant maintenance. When you block it off at the back, when you change the strings and stuff, there's always little adjustments that need to be done, in my experience anyway, especially if you're changing the tuning and stuff like that. So what I had to do is I had to make sure that I was 100% happy with the Floyd Rose system before buying it, and potentially one that I wasn't going to get on with because it's not the original, it's the special, right? So I did loads of when you're up to like 12 o'clock just watching YouTube videos in bed, like watching loads of videos on how to set one up, how to change the strings on one, how to make the adjustments. And I had to go in and be 100% confident that I was going to get on with it. Otherwise, this was just not going to work. The good thing is about this is staying in drop A tuning. It's not going to move from it. This stays in A, and that is it. So I'm not going to be worrying about having to compensate for the bridge by coming up and down with the B. Like if I was going to go up to a B standard kind of tuning, or even if I wanted to go lower, like a lot of the Fit for a King stuff that I've got into recently, that's tuned well lower. But I just kind of had to put that out of my mind and say, no, this is for a specific project. Keep it in A, it'll be fine. And yeah, so far, Touchwood, I've got on with it. So a couple of weeks ago, I bit the bullet, so to speak, and I ordered the thing, right? I thought to myself, the only way you're going to find out about this guitar is by playing it and spending some time with it. And there was no way was I going to drive to the other end of the country to play a guitar that I potentially wasn't going to like. Plus, especially with like the Floyd and stuff like that, I think you need to live with it and, use it and tune it and see all the little quirks that the guitar has in order to get a full understanding of it. And like I said, that's the other reason why I didn't just bolster straight into a video going, hey guys, this is my new guitar and I'm going to play some riffs for you and do a load of dive bombs, switch the video off, find my guitars massively out of tune and end up hating it, right? I needed to live with it. I needed to, you know, give you guys an honest opinion. So the thing came, I unboxed it with you guys and I've started playing it. I think it came with a lighter gauge of strings on. I think it was like a 58 that was on the bottom, or even a 56. It was really, really light and flappy. So I ordered some Jim Dunlop strings. I wanted a 60 on the bottom, but still want my 10 on the top, because to get all those bends and stuff, I didn't want to have, like, basically you're looking at standard tuning. I didn't want to have like 11s or something like that. That would really mess up my fingers. But the 60, I don't know, it was okay. So this week I bought some Ernie Ball Cobalts. That's a 62 on the bottom now, and that's got a lot better bite. It holds a lot better, and it doesn't flap as round as much when you hit the open string. And it still has the 10 on the top here, so I can still bend and stuff like that. So yeah, I think I'm going to be sticking with these, but I won't lie to you, depending on how I get on with them, £15 per pack for some fancy sort of resin, or however it's galvanized or whatever it is. I'm not entirely sold on that, so we'll just see how long they last, because I'm not going to be spending £15 per pack when I'm restringing like every 4 or 5 weeks or something like that, because they're going dead. So we'll see how we get on with those. One thing that I didn't have to think about was the EMG 8185. I've got them in this makes 4 of my guitars now, right? Don't have to think about it. Just plug in and go. I know what I'm going to get from the EMGs. I know things have moved forward. I know people are preferring like Fishbone Fluence and stuff like that now. And a lot of people are going back to passive pickups. A lot of people are going, hell, even like single coils and stuff like that, which is really cool. But for me, this is just something that I don't have to think about. I can plug in, get the sound that I've always been used to, and it just works. One thing I will say is the placement of the tone knobs and the volume knobs and stuff like that. It's 1 tone and 2 volume, which is fine, I guess. But on the website, you'll see if you go on the website, there's a big thing about this guitar about we've put 40 years worth of know-how to get functionality or something like that. This big word, functionality, to create a heavy metal monster that's gonna hold up, okay? In terms of functionality, that bar is right in the way of absolutely everything. And also, who uses a tone knob these days? I mean, I guess a few people do. Fun fact for you, Dave Mustaine has them all on his guitars, and he rolls his off just a little bit in live performances. But me, I've never used my tone knob ever. And I don't know about you guys. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know below. But for these heavy metal monster machines and stuff like that, that's just getting in the way for me personally. And especially with the placement of the volume knobs. This one is going for this pickup here, which is kind of your main one if you're chugging away, right? And this one right here is your neck pickup. So you've got the back one, which is your bridge, the front one, which is your neck, right? Now, if I want to go and turn my volume off, look what I have to get round. And by that point, you're knocking the fine tuners, right? Okay, so you're knocking yourself out of tune. Plus, if it's a stop-start song, right, and you need to stop and just shut your guitar up, otherwise everything's going to feed back and you're getting the bar out the way and trying to turn it off. Yeah, why didn't they stick a knob all the way down here, just like on my Jackson Rhodes upstairs, right? Have the closest one for your bridge pickup, yeah, because that's going to be your quick roll on, roll off. No problem getting to that one. And have that one for your front pickup all the way down here and get rid of the tone. And that way, you can reach things without having to knock into things. That's just my preference. That's just something I've noticed personally. Let me know if any of you have got a similar setup and find it as annoying as I do. But yeah, but that's a minor thing, right? Okay, because what I've started doing is just keeping this front volume off and switching all the way to the front to turn my guitar off. But again, that is an absolute pain, because what if I want to do something on my cleans? Yeah, which I love using the neck pickup for. I'm massive on my clean tones. So yeah, so then you have to roll the volume knob all the way back up again. So yeah, it's a little bit inconvenient, but I think I am splitting hairs here a little bit. So that in terms of functionality, that's just one thing that I picked up on. Another thing in terms of like when they were saying on the site about we've put all these years of expertise into creating the perfect metal machine. Why the hell have you put a Floyd Rose Special into it? Why wouldn't you put a Floyd Rose original? Now I know about price and stuff. Okay. But just to cut you in, this guitar goes for what, £819 right now, right? I paid the same amount for my PRS SE years ago, and that had an original on it, and I never had a problem with that. So why wouldn't you stick an original in there? I just don't understand. Because surely you'd know the reputation for the specials, right? And they've put the thing on the website and said, this thing will hold the, you know, the most aggressive dive bombs and harmonic squeals and stuff like that. That's okay. That's all well and good saying that. But the Floyd Rose Special has got a notorious reputation from what I've seen. The gripe that a lot of people have with the Floyd Rose Special is it's the block in the back, the sustain block. I've got this off now because I've been restringing it and stuff. That sustain block is a very thin zinc block. The brass blocks that come on the originals are absolutely massive and they sustain for days. It's just another thing. It just seems like another cost-cutting thing for me. Why wouldn't you have the original on there so you could have the great big massive sustain block? Yeah, I don't know. There's just some really confusing things because there's been a lot of thought and effort that have gone into this guitar. Another thing that I'll mention is it's got graphite reinforcement in the neck. And you can feel it, like it weighs. Funnily enough, there's no neck dive at all, which is what you'd expect with this. I think because the guitar is actually quite weighty itself, and the inverted headstock as well, I think it's perfectly balanced out through that. Despite the graphite neck and despite it being a V, a lot of Vs do have the neck dive thing going on. This have absolutely had no neck dive, which is really cool. And as far as the tuning stability goes, the graphite reinforcement, I've had this in a case. I've tuned it at home. I've had this in a case, drove all the way out somewhere, got it back out, played it, and it's still been in tune, much to my astonishment as well. And my honest opinion of this bridge, I've been diving it, I've been using it, and it holds in tune. A lot of people have said, or a few people have said that the zinc blocks inside, they start wearing out over time, and that's where things start getting a little bit tricky, and your guitar starts losing its integrity as far as tuning goes. But so far, I've absolutely had no problems. But I'm not saying go out and buy this because it's going to be absolutely perfect. It might just be I've got a decent one in a sea of ones that are actually bad. Yeah, because you go and look at the Floyd Rose special reviews online, it is mixed. So it seems to be a bit of a 50-50 chance on whether you're going to get on with it or not. So all in all, I can honestly say I'm quite happy with this guitar. It functions well, it sounds good. A couple of things I would change on it. Like I said, the volume knobs and stuff like that. Placement's a bit odd. Maybe over time, if this thing starts wearing away, I'll put an original Floyd Rose into it, which I really don't want to do because, you know, you want to be able, especially from a reputable company like Jackosn, you want to be able to buy the guitar and just get on with it and have it work. So I really don't want to go stripping this thing out. I have had to balance the trem, but that's just come from putting heavier gauge strings on. So anybody can do that. This another note that I'll make, anybody can work on their own guitars. There's so much good information out there. I'm not saying you should go and take your screwdrivers to your guitars and hope for the best right now. But if you educate yourself, and you've lived with a Floyd Rose for a little while, like I did, and you go in confidently and don't be afraid of it. Learn off of somebody as well. There's loads of good information out there. These Floyd Roses can be functional. You can get on with them if you're confident in just doing the little adjustments they need to keep them level and stuff like that. So that's another thing I would say. If you're thinking about getting a Floyd Rose guitar, just do your research into it. Make sure that you're happy with what's going to come with it. You know, you're going to probably want to pay for a setup. 100% probably going to want to pay for a setup. This thing already came set up from Peach, but I had to do some amendments. Like I said, when I put the heavier strings on it, the bridge came forward a bit. But other than that, it came well intonated. It's yeah, it plays really well and it holds tune. So enough waffle now. How about we find out what the thing actually sounds like, huh? So I'm going to start off with the heavy tones right here. So there you go. There's a lot of the drop A sort of riffage that you can get out of this thing. But here's the cool thing. Underneath that A, like I said earlier, there's a standard tune guitar underneath. So you can get all your Metallica or anything that you want to play that's standard tune out of this thing, provided you miss the low 7th string, of course, which might take a little bit of getting used to. So there you go, guys. It's yeah, it's pretty ugly. I think Drop A is one of the most ugly tunings out there, to be fair. So yeah, so let's move on into the clean tones now and have a look what they sound like. Just so you guys know what I'm running here, I'm running my guitar, which is going straight into the Scarlett Focusright interface. and then that's going straight into bias effects. So all my tones are literally coming from bias today, as always, pretty much. Okay, so clean tones. So that's all the way on the front pickup. Then if I go to the middle, so that's in the middle. A bit twangy for me. I much prefer all the way forward. I'll show you what it's like on the back as well, all the way on the bridge. So. So that's all the way on the back, but for me, it's all about the forward position right on the bridge. I think the proof in the pudding here for like tuning stability and whatnot, I was like playing this thing on like heavy tones earlier while I was warming up this morning, ragging the whammy bar and stuff like that. And, you know, these strings are fresh on, I've stretched them in and stuff like that. And I think an art of guitar really shines when you play like these pretty chords. You play that sort of thing on an out of tune guitar, it's really going to show. So yeah, it just goes to show how well the thing is played in tune. Plus, I've just been bashing the hell out of it, playing like heavy riffs and stuff like that. So there's an idea for you of how well it holds for tuning stability. So let's have a look at what it can do on a lead sort of channel now. I guess also here's the obligatory dive bomb. So there you go, guys. There you have it. There's some stuff you can do with this guitar. Sorry I've fluffed a few notes, right? But yeah, this is just to give you a vague idea of what it sounds like and what I'm using it for. So I hope you've really enjoyed this. I do recommend this guitar. If you're up for maybe taking the chance with the Floyd Rose Special. You know, there's a lot of things on this that are interchangeable. Pickups, the bridge, you could do it. Hell, even the locking nut at the top. It comes with standard Jackosn tuners as well. So if anybody would want to put like locking tuners on there, you know, it's open to customization and stuff like that. But I'm really happy to keep this as it is for now. The thing plays great. The neck is super flat. I think it sounds good. You know, it's not the perfect, bright, pretty sounding guitar on the clean channels and stuff like that. But let's be honest, who's going to buy this specifically to, you know, play open D chords and compound intervals, right? It's just not what it's for. It's for metal, it's for dive bombs, it's for low riffing. And yeah, that's my take on this guitar. I've really been enjoying using it. Go back on my channel. There's a couple of covers that I've already done with this. My Lords of Summer one, I've got the solo on that one for Metallica. There's a couple of others on there. There's a couple of Axemoon ones on there, like I mentioned. So you'll be able to see what this thing sounds like in action there as well. So yeah, thanks for sticking around if you made it this far in the video. I really appreciate your support. If you enjoy this video, as always, leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new here. For updates, I can't do community posts yet because we're not at the 1,000 subscriber mark yet. So all my updates generally come on Instagram. That's where you'll find out what I'm going to be doing next, and I'll put out little polls and stuff like that and get everybody involved in what they want to see next and stuff like that. And you'll see a lot more of this thing on my Instagram as well because I post pictures and stuff like that. So yeah, there you go, guys. There you have it. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for all your support. Links below to my Instagram, to my my lessons website are all below for you. And yeah, until the next video, be well, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.